This video is in response to such headings: huge and unbelievable mathematical contradictions. Critics point out such contradictions, which I will refute here. So here is my heading: Contradictions Refuted, Part 1. And the previous two PowerPoint videos the first video here can be consulted if one wants to go to the historical details of the lists, how they are so far apart in time. So we'll quickly take a glance at the Ezra 2 list, which is compared to Nehemiah 7 list to point out mistakes, and we see here the men have returned. Men of Israel returned from captivity, and Nehemiah 7th list also says the same, that men returned, and the numbers are given. And so the two lists are criticized, and 18 alleged errors are pointed out. Here is a form of table which the critics make, and this is the first list, this is the second list. Name of children, these are verse numbers, these are numbers of family, same here, and it continues. These errors, they are pointing 18 errors in total, and they are pointing out errors in the whole assembly also, which we will refute today. Now these are the two Ezra 2 and Nehemiah 7 lists, complete lists, but I've cut it short because it won't fit, and here it's continuity, same thing, numbers are continuing. Some 68 verses are there, and here at the end we come to some variable numbers in the list, verse 61, and total is given here. And this is the manual addition which we have done today. It is not given in the Bible. Now we'll use the first list, Ezra 2 only, in which you see these are serial numbers, these are verse numbers, these are names of the family clan, heads of the father, and these are the numbers of the family. And this list goes on. It's a long list. This same list is continued. We come to the end parts of it, and we see here 63 verses here. 65 verse gives names of female singers, number, and the whole assembly, which includes these female singers, is given here as 42,360. And if you add, the arithmetic total comes to 28,818. We'll now see why this is much more than this. Now we'll show the context is not the same of the two lists, which critics use this Ezra 2 verse 1, and where it is given these people came back from captivity, and the second verse they do not consider. Then they go to Nehemiah 7, 6th verse, again that verse is identical, so they use that verse only. The captives came back here in this verse, and again the numbers are given here, which they ignore, and they build up their case of same context, which is wrong. And I will show that the context is not determined by just one verse, but by both these verses. The succeeding verse is verse 2, Ezra 2:2, where in Ezra 2:2 you find 11 people, 11 leaders are coming back. But here in Nehemiah 7:7 you find 12 leaders are coming back. This name is new and extra, added at some time. Yes, added later. At some point of time he might have come back. Now we see the same two lists, and the two verses, Ezra 2:2 and Nehemiah 7:7, in a table form, where these names, 11 names in Ezra 2 list and 12 names in Nehemiah 7:7 list. This name is missing here in the first list, and these numbers, you see, these spellings are just changed a little bit, because, and here also, but they are the same persons, these two, because over the 95 years time that passed between this list and this list, the spelling changed or the speech or writing style changed, and they have, however, written a little differently the names, but they are the same names. But here in Ezra 2, this name is absent and this name is added. So this proves that the context is not the same of Ezra 2 list and Nehemiah 7 list. And this Nehemiah chapter 7 verse 5 again proves the context of the two lists are not the same, because Nehemiah is just stating that he found a register of the record of captives who returned, and we know many captives returned in first, second and three batches they returned. So Nehemiah is referring to a record of register, he is not referring to the copy of Ezra 2 list. So again you see here the record register proves the context of the two lists are not the same as critics put it. The critics are wrong, the contexts are not the same. Now we find Ezra comes back after 82 years when the first batch came from captivity in Ezra 2. He came back, and in Ezra 8 we find that Ezra himself made a list of those who came back in the second batch. You see in male members here, numbers are given, male numbers here, many of them here, and this is another long list Ezra made, and this list was made 82 years later from the first list. So there could be additions because of the Ezra 8 list, and then here again Ezra 10, again he makes another list, and foreign wives are put out, removed from the Israel, genealogy of Israel, and the long names here again, so you see Ezra is making this second list, and this list you see foreign women are put off, the foreign wives they are put off, removed from the list, and with the children, male children must be there and they must be adult, grown, and removed from the genealogy. That is why you find subtraction also in the subsequent list. And so we come at this list, this table which shows the first list was made base time if you take 0 years, the second list Ezra 8 was made time 82 years later, third list Ezra 10 was made time 82 plus 10 months. It is recorded in the books, you can find the historical time, and have the fourth list. The TH is missing here, but sorry, it won't fit in this table, so I have left that. Consider it fourth. Nehemiah 7, fourth list, time 95 years after this first list. So between this first list, which the critic point out mistakes in this last list, fourth list, there is a big time gap of 95 years, and in between second and third lists were made. So the number of these lists were surely adjusted somewhere, subtracted or added, and which we find in Nehemiah. Then that is why you find subtraction and additions in the family clans, which is natural because the time gap is a lot, and this is a natural thing to do. Now we'll go ahead and see what happened next. Now if you see, consider the whole assembly, the total 42,360. This is not an arithmetic sum of the family numbers, because this verse makes it clear. Besides their males and female servants, of whom there were 7,337. Now their sentence is finished. There is a semicolon, and this is next. And they had 200 men and women singers.